It really gives me so much pleasure to be joining our Maria Road community this evening. My name is Karen Marsden-Sank, and I'm the chairperson of the South African Zionist Federation Cape Council. I'm also a member of Maria Road community, so this is really important and wonderful for me to be here this evening. And to our Rabbonim, Rabbi Wineberg, Rabbi Hecht, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to introduce you to a fantastic family that has joined our community. Hecht and Batya and their 3 kids have joined us from Israel to be our new community shlichim. Hecht is based at Herzliya School and Batya is based at the Zionist Federation. And it is so important that we as a community have shlichim and have friends of ours to be here in Cape Town, to be part of our community. And in the short period of time that they have been here, I've really gotten to know them, and we are blessed. We really are to have this amazing family join us. Their kids from 16, I think 14 to Naomi, who's just turned 8 years old. We were able to celebrate just a couple of weeks ago her birthday here in Cape Town. So it really gives me great pleasure to welcome and thank you for inviting us to be part of this evening. And of course, the relationship between Maria Road community and the South African Zionist Federation is long and important and may go from strength to strength. So a warm welcome to all of you, and of course, Hecht and Batya. So I hand over to Rabbi Wineberg. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. And thanks for the lovely words. And of course, we're very proud of the association, both with you guys as a family and of course with what you represent today, the Zionist Federation Cape Council. Israel is something we love very much. It's something very deep in our hearts. And it's something that and Israel has brought out the deepest feelings of our Jewish pride and our Jewish history and our Jewish aspiration over the years. But Israel is more than it's more than an idea. It's more than a place. Today we can look and we can say Israel is a face. And when we are joined here with Hecht and with Batya, we see the faces of Israel. We see what Israel is and what it achieves. We see who it is, not only what it is. And that's what's very exciting to me, and I know for everybody here today, and to be able to meet the faces of Israel, the heart that beats and that connects us so deeply to something we love so much and that is so important to every single one of us. I just want to thank Patrick and his team for their work here in the setup and in the managing of the Zoom and the video cameras, to Rabbi Hecht generally for the coordination and putting it together, and of course to Karen and the entire Zionist Fed team for partnering with us and allowing us to really be able to meet this wonderful couple, Hecht and Batya, and to see the face of Israel. I'll hand over to Rabbi Hecht so we can get to know this special couple here today.
Thank you, Rabbi Wineberg, and good evening. Welcome to all of you out there on the Zoom. Thank you for joining us. I know we've got a lot of competition tonight. There's other family meetings taking place across South Africa. There's some big international sports games taking place. So those of you who have chosen to join us live, it's really great to have you in our company. We really would have preferred to have everyone here in person. This was about introducing Batya and Hecht to the community. We hope that they would be able to meet you as well, but at least like this, they'll be familiar to you. And that way, next time you see them around Cape Town, you can go and introduce yourself and make sure they feel welcome in Cape Town. Just to add to the thank yous from Rabbi Wineberg, to thank Yvette from the Zionist Fed really for all her efforts and bringing this evening together, and to Kerry for the setup here at the shul and the other shul staff who've made sure that we could be here this evening. Okay, so the idea was that we'd sit down and hopefully by myself and Rabbi Wineberg having a bit of a personal conversation with you, the people out there can feel like they're also getting to know you a little bit. And as Rabbi Wineberg mentioned, you represent the faces of Israel, the real people, and the diversity of the land of Israel, of the Jewish people, and a lot of the passion that defines Israel today and how Israel interacts with the diaspora, particularly Africa. The way we'll do this is I'll kind of start with conversation. We'll chat to Batya and then to Hecht individually, and then we'll see how the conversation turns around. We'll be together for about an hour, and we hope you enjoy the time together. And I'm guessing we'll have to have a follow-up, because already there's so much I can think of that we want to get to know about you guys. So maybe we can start here. Batya, about 30 years ago, what all of us know as Operation Solomon, an incredible effort on behalf of the modern state of Israel to airlift Ethiopian Jewry out of Ethiopia at a very difficult time there, to bring a dream alive for so many. And you were part of that. Yeah. That's how you first came to Israel. Can you share with us a little bit about life as it was then, how you remember it, the journey, and then afterwards we could talk a little bit about the integration.
Yeah. First of all, very exciting to be here, and we, a couple Israelis, too, very proud to be in the Jewish community in South Africa. So a little bit about the Ethiopian Jewish community. Most of the Ethiopian Jewish community lived in the north. All the years, about 2,500 years, we always dreaming back to home, to Jerusalem. All the years, we don't had any connection to other Jew, other community around the world, and we thinking we are the last tribes of Am Israel. And in the 1980, about 12,000 Ethiopian Jews decide that they want to go out from Ethiopia to come to home, to Jerusalem. And they walk about 2 months, 3 months from Ethiopia to Sudan. About 4,000 of them, they die in this journey. It was very traumatized. Some of them still, they don't want to open the story, what happened to them. They abuse them. They wait there in the refugees camp, and the Israelis did operation, very special operation they called Operation of Moses. The Mossad, the Navy SEAL, they came to the Sudan building camp. Nobody know they are Israeli, they are Jewish. During the day it was tourist place, but in the night was army base. And this is how the 8,000 Ethiopian Jews come to Israel. The story of my family, it's happened in 1991. It was huge, the second operation to bring the the Jewish Ethiopian to home. If you remember, there was very dictator government in Ethiopia. He did terrible things, not only for the Jewish. So maybe he's going to fall down, and he asked from the Israeli government, if you want to take out the Ethiopian Jew, you need to pay $41 million. And then the U.S. helped in the negotiation, and they ended they paid $31 million, and they opened the gates, and this is how the 4,000 Ethiopian Jews came to Israel. We came 5 months after this operation. My father, he was 81 years old. He belonged to the family. My grandfather was Rabbi. His name Mahari Daniel. And the age of 81 years old, the dream it's really come true. Somebody come to knock to our door, and they said the way to Jerusalem, it's open, come to home. And he was in shock, he doesn't believe. And 2 weeks take until we get to Addis. And God promised to the Jewish world, to Jewish people, I take care of you on the wings of an eagle. I promised you. To us, it's happened in 1991. I was there at the age of 11 years old to fly it with huge bird. And 5 hours after we arrived to Israel, to Jerusalem. And everybody just fall down, kissing the land, and we pray to God. And then the first thing that I remember that we opened our eye and we saw first time in our life white people. And we looked to each other and we don't know who they are. And there was very nice, the soldiers and different people with the candy, with the fruit. And my father, he looked to us and he said, you can eat only fruit, because he doesn't believe they are Jew like us. And this is how the first, really how we get, it was huge gap. What it was the dream about the Jerusalem, the milk and honey and everything. Still, Israel is amazing, not question about that. But we came from the dream of the Bible time to the modern country, to Israel. So, and you know, in Israel, when you get there, really welcoming you and everything organized for the new Olim. And then we go to the temporary home. Kids from 11 years old and up, we move to the boarding school. And you go to the Ulpan, you learn Hebrew, travel around the country. It's many educators and counselors and teachers and soldiers around to you. And it was amazing. It's a kind of camp, the first year. But after the first year, they said, okay, now you know Hebrew, you go to the regular class. So you jump in the really very cold water, and this is the first shock, like to see the children in my age, but they never saw black children, black Jewish or brown Jew, I don't know how to call it. And I sit in this class about 1 year, and I feel a little bit stranger and the culture, the mentality. And the end, I decide from now I just want to be Israeli, no more special title. For my parents, it was very hard decision. They don't know exactly why I become so different. And of course, when you're speaking about the teenagers, I really take too much serious on the other side. And the end of the high school, joined to the army and the Navy SEAL. And this is the first time that my life that I feel that I'm 100%, I'm Israeli. I'm very proud to be part of the Am Israel in Israel. And you're ready to risk your life. And even I was support of the fighter. I was not fighter in the Navy SEAL. But you feel one, like we become one family. And this is that also, thank God, I met my husband and the Navy during the Army service.
I want to go back just to a personal question. Your immediate family, how many people were you that
My
came?
family, 7, we are 8 brothers and sisters, but my sister, she passed away in Ethiopia, and so we are 7 brothers and sisters.
And you traveled together. This was a few months after
only
the
5 kids, and 2 of them, they came after. Yeah.
And when the big operation took place, Operation Solomon, you knew about it?
Nothing.
Why? Because people came from different areas?
The big operation of Solomon, we don't know about that because no TV, no, the information, and we lived far away from the big community. And the area we lived only, we was 75 Jewish family. And so most of the Jewish community, they lived in other area far away from us, so we don't know. And we missed this operation.
So when they came to knock on your father's door, it was the first time you heard about it. You didn't know about
Yeah.
the big operation. So it's not like you were waiting for someone to come to the door.
No, we heard stories from the operation of Solomon, usually terrible stories. Like when they come to my father, tell them this, your cousins die, and this one died. It was not good news about Aliyah, but we don't know anything about Israel. We always using the name of Jerusalem.
For the whole Israel. It was always
Yeah,
Jerusalem. That was the dream.
Yeah, we don't know.
So when's the first time you came to Jerusalem?
Oh, it was very sad story. We don't know that the Bet Mikdash is not there anymore. We're thinking when you come to home, to Israel, it's meaning Jerusalem. Everything is about the temple, the Bet Mikdash. And then they did tour. We don't really understood, so we're asking, so where's the Bet Mikdash? And they said, no more Bet Mikdash, only the hall. This is what. So for the kids, we was in shock. We don't know what to do with that. But I know the generation of my parents, my father, and of course the rabbis, they just fall down and cry, and even about few days, they eat only, how do you say, garenim. It's,
Seeds
they eat seeds and drink water.
in mourning.
About
In mourning.
Evel in Jerusalem.
That is
yeah.
unbelievable. I actually
Nobody
never heard
knows,
that.
yeah.
Unbelievable. It's taken me a moment just to digest that before we go into to the next story. You know, you spoke about as an 11-year-old going into what was kind of like camp, a lot of caring counselors working on integration, and then get thrown into high school. That was very difficult. But you made a decision that you just want to be part of it.
Israeli, yes.
That takes a lot of strength.
Because, you know, in Ethiopia, they call us Falashim. Falashim, it's meaning stranger, not belong to Ethiopia. And Ethiopian Jewish community was very tiny
Yeah.
tribes. And we lived between 80 million non-Jewish people. And they called them, all the time they call us, they abuse us, and the different names. And now we came home of Jerusalem, and I don't want to be different anymore. I just want to be a regular child. This is why most of the young children like me decide to change their name, Batya, it's Hebrew name, and to stop to speaking the Ethiopian language, and to change your style, and many things that we decide to do for our parents was not easy, especially the culture. Some of them, we become more secular, and for them it was tough. But this journey, you know, God never give up about his child. And for me, the wake-up call, it's happened after the army service. I lost my father, and he passed away without he know that I really love him, and everything that I have in my life, it's because of my parents. And I was very sad that he passed away without he know. And I decided, like many Israeli, to go out from Israel to learning who am I. And you were so busy to be a regular child, to prove that even you come from Africa, you are normal Jewish child. So I lived 1 year in LA, and I returned to my roots. And one of the things that I did, this is one of the huge gifts that God gave me, to be alone. And you understood, you can be, like you have different, in your identity, you have different pieces, of the puzzle. So I'm Ethiopian, part of the Ethiopian Jewish community. I'm very Israeli. I'm woman. I'm religious. How you doing this peaceful in your heart? And this was like to living 1 year. And also another things that I was cry also. The generation of my parents, they did everything to promise to save our identity and to bring us back home. And now this is my turn, my generation. We need to give back to the Jewish world.
I want to maybe give Rabbi Wineberg a chance to speak to it. No, but I want to come back to that, because what you're starting to say, it sounds almost like to give back. It's going not just to your own children, but to Jews around the world, and is perhaps what brings you to South Africa. Let's come back to that, and I think I'm going to hand to Rabbi Wineberg just to maybe introduce Hecht, or ask him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Rabbi Hecht, and thank you, Batya, for that incredible. I think I may have met you once before when we came on a rabbinic tour, because I remember, I think it might have been you who told us that when they came off the plane, they never knew that there was such a thing as a white Jew. I think I heard that story once. It always stayed with me. But the idea that hitabel al Yerushalayim, on the Beis Hamikdash, and to experience that in the modern time is just, I've never heard that before. And that is something that like Rabbi Hecht said, it's something we sort of have to figure out. It's incredible. But you speak about the mission that you had about continuing your parents' journey. And I was just very moved meeting your husband, Hecht. And I asked him, what does Hecht mean in Hebrew? And he explained to me that it's an echo. So now I want to ask Hecht if this is like part of the same sort of mission. It's like almost like your parents understood that you are going to be echoing something beyond. It's a very poetic name, and it's almost like there is a sense of echo, and in other words, a sense of a sound that is going beyond oneself, reverberating, and that's just very moving as a description, and almost describes what you guys do here. I'm just wondering how that's actually fit into your life in terms of your journey, and how you came to the point where you would share with Batya that feeling that you want to give back.
First of all, it's good you know my name, because in most of the places they just call me the husband of Batya. So actually people don't know my name, so at least some of you know. I can tell you a little bit maybe about my journey a little bit. It's not so exotic, of course, like Batya, but a little bit, and how we become to meet each other. I grew up in a village called An Od. It's an artist village in Israel. It's an art colony in the Carmel Mountain. There's a village, it's very unique. There's not many like this in all the world. There's like 200 family living there, and most of them, the majority, they are artists who are living there. It started in the 50s. There was a banded village there, and they decided to make it like touristical, a place for the new country to rise. Israel was just established, and there was an idea to build. And my family, my parents, they were young artists coming from Tel Aviv in the 70s, and I grew up in there as a child all my life. It's an amazing place. You're all welcome to come and see there. It's one of the most beautiful places in Israel. So I grew up there with an artist family, both my parents. It becomes that all us, me, my brother, my sister, all of us somehow become artists. So my mother complains all the time. She doesn't have any doctor, any lawyers, Like the doctor is the dream of every Jewish mother, like we say. So, and then after I finished my school, I went to the military. I served in the Navy. And after that, when I finish, have to decide what I'm doing. Like everybody, like going to travel. I travel a while in South America. And my father got sick, and he passed away quite fast because he had some infection in the hospital, and we just lost him when I was young. So I find myself like getting into the studio, the business of the family and everything, and suddenly I find myself being an artist without even understanding how. And I built a very huge studio that over there I established many monuments and projects all over the world in Israel, with many young people working for me and teaching them and training them, and actually like building many dreams for many organizations and places. And I travel and I meet amazing people in this journey. But after a while, I felt I need a vacation of it because too pressure. So I just took a plane and I went to Africa, and I stayed in Africa for 2 years. I thought I'm coming for 3 months, but eventually, the African time goes very slow. What you do in Israel one day, it takes a month usually in Africa. And here it's faster because it's South Africa, but if you go to the inside of Africa, it's really, really slow. So I find myself somehow, and all my life when I grew up, I grew up in a very secular environment. My village is very secular. It's like artist place, it's the religion. Let's say the Judaism is not very strong in that area there. So when I went to Africa, somehow I find myself living among Muslims for a long, long time. I was living with Muslim society for 1 year in an island in Kenya. It's called Lamu. And I had many unique experiences there, okay, which is a long conversation by himself, okay? And I can say over there, I start to realize my Jewish identity from the inside of the Islam. I was not behaving like a Muslim, but I was living with them very tight. They embraced me very strong, They like kind of adopt me as a family there. I find myself with 2 malarias. I was very sick there. And I came very sick to Israel back because it's tropical kind of living. And then all this time I was living with the Muslim, and I was living with in a nomad tribe in Ethiopia and Kenya. I was very interested to see the society of human being, because one of the very important thing about Africa that I felt, it's like you can enter to a time machine. You know, it's like some people in Africa, they live here like we learn in history books, you know, thousands of years ago. And it's amazing. You just take a plane or from here a few hours drive, and suddenly you find yourself in a situation that you live among people that way back. And it's very interesting socially. It was very interesting to see the humanity in this position, you know. And to be like this, you have to go out from the car, go out from your culture, and really go inside and live with them in their places, in their houses, you know. It's an amazing experience. I met amazing people. They took care of me in many nomads tribe. You go to people, they take care of you. You feel safe completely because they're guests, you know, and it's amazing. But usually the body doesn't hold it, you know, because the hygiene is not strong. It's very tight. You get very sick usually when you get out from those places. And when I came back from Africa after a long journey, I started to grow up my Jewish identity much stronger, you know, in a way.
How did you take that leap? How did it go from you were discovering humanity? You were discovering the human condition in its very earlier state.
Yeah.
Right? But somehow you've also found your particular, your prat, your individuality. How did you jump that?
It's very interesting. First of all, when I was living with the Muslim, I would become awareness to religious kind of life, which I didn't know in my village at all, you know? Suddenly, I liked to see the Muslim praying. It's a beautiful scene, you know? And I like to see it like they are walking, and suddenly in the middle of the day, I was not aware of it because I didn't live like this. In the middle of the day, you see a man close his shop, going to pray in the mosque, going back to his shop, and you see it 5 times a day. And you're like, wow, this man stopped his material life, you know, to connect and come back, you know? And why if you don't grow like this with the synagogue and everything, it appears to you as a strange because you have no awareness to it, you know? And they open it to me, you know, it's amazing. It's opening the Muslim. And I see many things that are common, you know, they give tzedakah, they help each other between themselves, you know. Of course, they have their own complications, you know, especially when it's dealing with Israel.
We Jews don't have any complications.
Yeah, we have it in a different way, okay? We are much small numbers, so maybe it's more easy to handle, maybe. And it was before September 11 I was there, you know, so the environment around was more easy, you know. Now it's but they're still in contact with me, you know, they're still sending me. Did
you have to learn the language?
Swahili, I learned Swahili.
Swahili.
Now I speak very slow because it took a while time. But if I meet Swahili people, I can talk to them.
And do you have the opportunity here in South Africa, in Cape Town, to speak
Actually,
Swahili?
the cleaning lady who came to our house, she speaks Swahili, and she started to speak, and her husband. So I speak
I'm sure they're pretty surprised.
Huh?
I'm sure they're quite surprised.
Yeah, many people in East Africa, they speak Swahili. It's a very common language. So you can see it, I'm sure here in Cape Town I can meet. But it doesn't come to me very fluently. You know, it took a while.
And at what point did you meet Batya?
I had to pray a lot for this, you know. It's like the Western Wall and everything, you know, all the way. It was not easy. When I came back from Africa, I went sailing in a yacht. I used to go sailing, you know. And I met some people from my unit, from my military unit. And after that, I was they called me again to the military. How do you say Miloim? Miloim, how do you say Miloim? When they call you again after...
Reserves.
Yeah, they call me after this. And all the time I was in the yacht with the people, I told them many stories about Africa, you know, because I just came. This is in Africa, like, because they were sitting and sailing in the sea, you know, and this. So when I came to the military, they called me for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't remember how much time. And I didn't want to go much because I was after a trip, you know, in the world. Now I didn't have time in my head for a military. But I had to go because they asked me to go. So when I go there, I go sit with them. Someone tell me, you know, there's one soldier here. She's Ethiopian from Africa and this and this. You want to meet her? I said, yeah, for sure, you know. And then somehow we met her, you know. I'm already old. I was old at that time. We have like 7 years different because I was 25, I think, that age, you know. And ever since, it's history, you know. It's a long story by himself, but it's become a history.
So it was in your shirut, it was in your service that you guys actually met.
After the service, but it was
But
actually...
you were serving at that time. It was miluim, but you were serving.
Miloim, yeah.
So it
After
wasn't,
that, I called the military and said, now I even agree to volunteer. No problem. I like the idea of
only to that base, only
Yeah.
that basis. Very special.
And I love that you said that it took a lot of prayer to find your wife, and you mentioned the Western Wall. Before I got married, I finished studying here in South Africa. So I grew up very religious, and the way I was going to meet was through a shidduch.
Yeah.
But I finished studying my smicha to become a rabbi. Then I decided I'm going to Jerusalem for 3 months. It lasted 3 months because then I went to New York to meet my wife, but I went often, almost every day, just to go pray for the right shidduch. So it's definitely a blessing, and it's definitely the best preparation anyone can make to find the right
They
shidduch
say
in
if
their
you
life.
go to the Western world with a particular thing, it's different than just coming there and, you know, with your own particular personal thing.
Correct.
Just put it to the way it's coming, you know. There's a nice story. It's a true story. They say one guy in the yeshiva, he had a lot of problems, you know, economic problems and stuff, and he really collapsing. And then one day he just decided to go to the Western Wall, and he was like crying, you know. Everything was disaster for him. And then somebody suddenly knock him on the back and tell him, what are you crying for? So tell him, listen, this is my life, you know. I thought like this. So the guy tell him, you know, I'm Jewish. It's my first time I'm in Jerusalem. I came from America. I have money. I have no problem. I will help you. I'll support you. Well, and then he come and he help him and help him in all his problems and get him a flat or pay his rent. I don't know, whatever. So for a few days he didn't come to the yeshiva, and after a few days everybody asked him, where you've been? He said, listen, I've been to the Western Wall and I was crying. I had a miracle. The day after, all the yeshiva, they go to the Western Wall. They are all crying for days. They're like, and nobody comes to them, you know? And they go to the head of the yeshiva and they tell him, you know, like, look at him, this guy, you know, he's like, we study so strong and we are tzaddikim, and this guy is, you know, he's half like this, you know? And how come he had a miracle we didn't have? So the rabbi tell him, listen, he went there, he was praying, crying for his heart, but you pray for the apartment, you know? It's different, you know?
Beautiful.
When you come with a clean heart.
Beautiful, beautiful story. Absolutely. You could be the rabbi. You could tell the drasha. So let's maybe bring the conversation back, Batya. You spoke about your own personal journey of, you know, the difference between, you know, your home and the new world that you were determined to enter into. And you only hinted to some of the difficulty in it. It's clear that you made your decision. You were so strong that you didn't allow what could have been the big challenges to overwhelm you. I know that a lot of your work has been involved in a school and village which works with children, I don't know what ages, that are kind of on the edges of society and hopes to bring them back into society, to give those who don't fit in elsewhere to find a way to fit in. Maybe you can tell us a little about the work.
About the work that I left.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's
At Yemen Ord.
in Yemen
Yeah.
Ord. It's a very unique village. It's established in 1953 for the kids Holocaust survivor. And in the last 11 years, I joined with this place because they took these kids from different situations. Most of them, they are new immigrants from Russia and in Ukraine, in France, and in Ethiopia and Brazil and more. And they, first of all, they tell them, you are not alone. You, after a long journey, you finally get to your home. You belong to this country. And we need you. You are the future of this country. So in the beginning, nobody really believed. You know, yeah, we hear about that. But what they decide They said it's not enough to be with these kids until they finish the high school. You have to support them during the place, after you finish the high school, the whole place, they don't have the support of the family. First of all, to push them to go to the pre-army leadership program, and then to go to be officer, to do meaningful army service. If you're doing meaningful army service, many doors open for you in the future. And during the army service, we visit them, we support them all the time. And then after the army service, finish your army service, come to the village again, and we sit with them and we tell them, okay, what is there next? Okay, you go to travel a little bit, fine, good, it's important. But the next one is go to college or to university, and we give them a scholarship. And we called from survivor to leadership. How you take this?
They come in when? At high school age? And then you support them through the next step?
Yeah, some of them, the orphan children. Some of them, they are new immigrants. Some of them, they're coming from really bad situation, the family, different abuses in their life. So, and it's kind of miracle how you really change the diskette of the child when you really believe, and we tell them, we are from the both sides, and we know you're going to be part of the best people in Israel, and now today, and this is why I joined to this place, my niece, she was orphan child, she changed many schools until she get to this Yemin Ord. And I was supervisor in Haifa city. And when I saw what happened to my niece, we raised this child. And when we saw what happened to her, and I decided to be part of this Yemin Ord community. And I was the head of fundraising money and the writing program for the children. And once a year to travel to US and to fundraising money.
So how many children are dealing with it on every year?
We had about 455 kids, but we support about 10,000 graduates.
Wow.
So
where's the school? The village is called Yemin Ord?
It's in the Mount of Carmel. It's near Haifa, where we live
right.
very close to us. Yeah, it's 2 minutes from our. And this is the Jewish world, and this is our responsibility. It's very easy to complain how the life is not fair, how the situation is not fair, the politica it's better. It's so important for you. Do something to change the situation. You cannot complain and sitting in sofa and to eat the best food and all the time you're not doing nothing like, how do you say in Kaduregel, the games
soccer.
In the soccer? Don't be like...
Don't be a spectator.
Yeah.
You got to
Play.
Get in the game, yes.
Yeah, this is yours. And this is what we feel, Head and me. We feel we have so many gifts in our life. And to be those of the generation who lived in Israel. And we open our Avraham tents and it's really very important for me that Head share this Avraham tents. If you can say it about Avraham.
Okay, so so just to introduce it for those who are listening, so Hecht and Batya live in an area up in north, and there's a famous hiking trail in Israel that takes you all the way from the top of the country all the way to the bottom, and they set up, I don't know more about it, but they set up what they call Avraham's tent, that people who are traveling, hiking, will have a home for a few days, for a weekend, for Shabbat, for what? And from what we've heard from your own experiences, it's clear that this was a very personal way of you inviting others in as guests to your home and to share what you've experienced. So yeah, tell us a little bit about it.
Actually, it started when I established my studio. It's next to my village. I built a big studio in the valley, with the land in the valley, and suddenly I find that there's people hiking there. Starting to hike. It happened. It was like 22 years ago, 23 years ago, and they started in Israel. They started people like hiking. They started some project who become very, very successful. It's called the Israel National Trail. You can walk all Israel by foot. And when I mean all Israel, I mean from the north to the south. Of course, not all Israel. They take a route. Amazing places. Okay, let's say it takes like 1 month and a half if you want to make all of it together. And that time, 23 years ago, it was just starting. It was still, there was no many marks. They used to checking out no maps about it, and people was. And when I started to build the studio, suddenly I see hiking people, and I just came for myself from a long journey in Africa, and I'm used to have a bag on my back, backpackers, and I see them, it's not familiar, and all this time I was in Africa, people always used to welcome me and invite me with nomads people, with the Muslim people, so many people host me, and I just started to help them, spontaneously like this, without even thinking, and they start to hear about me, and I contacted the manager of this, or the operator of this shvil, and suddenly he will start sending people to me. Somehow I didn't find. And then Batya came, and suddenly became for Shabbat. And before we know, we are like all over, people are all over us. And and we liked it. It was great. The kids, they were just born, they were very small. They were not born even yet, it was before we even get married, I think. And slowly it became bigger and bigger and bigger. And it becomes like a project. It became all over Israel, and we didn't think about it. It just happened. In our place, I think it was more than 20,000 people already stayed. And we had incredible meetings with society from all over Israel and worldwide. People come from all over the world, Jewish and not Jewish people. They made Shabbat with us, like amazing stories, that came, and people like their eyes sparkling like this, so interesting. Each person like this has become an ambassador for Israel, because you really have a good experience about Israel, meeting not only us, meeting many, many families on the way that helps them, We are very lucky to establish it without even knowing that we established something. So it started in our home, in our salon, and then become too much, And then we build a tent, and then we build like a small hut, and then become bigger and bigger, and it's continued.
So what do you
Until now,
offer?
I get all the time WhatsApp here.
It's a building now. How many people can stay at one time?
Depends of the season. If it's a good season like spring, summer, they like to sleep outside, but they have places. We have mattresses and stuff. They come with a sleeping bag. There's a shower. There's a toilet. If it's in the winter, there is a place that's closed. And until now, I get WhatsApp all the time. I just transfer it to Israel and say, okay, I'm not there. They will help you.
And what do you offer them? You offer them hospitality, and then they meet you, they talk with you, and
They need minimum because they travel. Actually, most of the time they come in the afternoon, they want to sleep and continue in the morning. But some of them prefer to stay 1 or 2 because they like. And some people may come for Shabbat, because if they keep Shabbat, so they can contact us, and sometimes we make dinners together and they can sleep over.
Is it at the
some
beginning?
Some people don't keep Shabbat, they just come to it with us Friday night.
Chavaya,
Yeah.
an experience. Is it the beginning of the trail or the end? Which
We are
side
like,
is it?
let's say if you start from the north, we are 2 weeks after. They have 2 weeks walk, and they come to us. So when they come to us, they already past the hard, because the first week is the most difficult one for the body. Some quit in the first week because you have the muscles, or you get, I don't know, yabalot. You can get some things in the first week. If you pass the first week, you can continue. So when they come to us, they're already like, they are open as well spiritually, because it's very interesting to meet these people in this period of their life. They're like, let go of things, and their mind is very open because they travel. So it's nice, it's great. They keep us young all the time because most of them, they are young. So like we meet young people and they come and we talk about issues about they're in this period of life. They have to make decisions. Usually it's after the military, and they have to decide where they want to go to university, want to do. So they say, some of them say, hey, let's make the hiking. We think about, instead of, it was very popular for Israelis to travel, after the military. So we go to the Far East. Now Africa become lately popular. When I was traveling in Africa, it was very rare that people come there. But usually in the Far East and in South America, many are traveling. But now this national trail become very, very popular. You know, it was considered in National Geographic, the magazine, one of the 20 best hiking places in the world. So because the landscape changed very fast in Israel, so in 1 month and a half, you see everything, you know. You can make a hike in America for 2 months, it's the same landscape, you know. And in Israel, you're like, every 2-3 days, you're in a different, you're going to be in the desert, you'll be in the north, you'll be in the springs, and you finish in a lot, which is great, you know.
What's really surprising is that you had such a rich life in Israel and so committed to making a difference. I'm wondering what was missing that you needed to come to South Africa. Like, well, you're doing a great job. We're happy you came, but
You
what
ask
were
me or you ask
I'm
her?
asking both of
Depends.
you. Okay, I'm asking both of you. I'm asking both of you. Why did you feel the need to? You're serving in such incredible ways. It's such a vibrant relationship with the society. What did you feel was missing that you wanted to come here on a shlichut? Let's ask Batya.
Before I transfer, I just tell her she came 3-4 years ago. She tell me we are going to shlichut, and I'm like, you know, we are in the middle of things and projects and ideas. No, we have to do meaningful things. We have to live a comfortable life. We have to go out and do things, you know. And then she started to establish the seeds, you know. And it not only with this, with other things in our life, you know. And since then, she can tell you how we eventually arrived here, because there was few options on the way, during the way, like I told you, and we're supposed to go. People want us to come to Canada and to go to America, and for me, it's very easy to convince. Once you say the word Africa, it's finished, you know. And if it's Judaism inside, and communication and community, you know, we are not looking to get out of Israel, like to live someplace or to find other life. We want to come for meaningful idea, to be connected. You know, that's.
You were so connected there, Batya. So maybe you could just tell us why you felt it was necessary to come here to get connected.
So it started when I was a student in the university. My first BA, it's a Jewish history in teaching, and my MA, it's Hebrew law and Jewish history. So when I started learning in the University of Haifa, my financial situation was not good. Like, my father passed away, I'm young, my mother, she's working very hard to raise the kids, and I was very shy to ask support from my family. And one day, somebody come to university, very nice lady from US, from Atlanta, and she want to meet young Ethiopian Jewish kids who's learning in the university. And she interviewed me. I don't know what you want exactly. And I tell her the story, and we came from Israel, and this and that, and my dream and everything. And at that time, it's really, I need money, but I don't know how to say it. And it's not so comfortable to ask what you need. And she said, listen, you're orphan from your father, and your mother, she needs to raise another 5 kids. And I don't have so much money, but I can send to you every month $100. And I was in shock. She doesn't know me, nothing. Only because we are Jewish and she Jewish, she decided to support of me. And it's touched me in deep in my heart. And I said, one day when I grow up, I want to go out from Israel, support Jewish community. This is like to close the circle, to give back. And it's happened 3 years ago. You know, when you're really listening to your heart, God give you any information that you need. And 3 years ago, I said to my husband, my partner, everything that we're doing together, and I said, we have to go out. And we agreed, and we had so many, like, different options in US, different community, in Canada. And when we met the Jewish community in South Africa, we felt like immediately we feel this is the correct place. A Jewish community in South Africa with history, and they never mind what, they always support Israel. And this is our time to give back to the Jewish community in South Africa. Even in friends, and even in the school, they tell us, you are crazy, why you go out from here, from comfortable life, and your children, they are teenagers. And we don't afraid from challenge. I think this is great opportunity to serving the Jewish community. Even the first months, we fight with our language, you know. This is my third language. I would like, and this is really great opportunity to say to the community who is enjoying to us today in this event, we are here for you, and we together, the Am Yisrael, Aravim Ze Leze, I don't know how you said in English.
Responsible for each other.
Each other's, yes. And even the third wave is coming of the corona, we don't need to stop our life. We need to be very careful. ונשמרתם לנפשותיכם. But even in this time, we need to thinking outside from the box and the creative, how to reach to the people who sick and the lowly people and the young generation. This time it's not easy for the South Africa young generation and the whole demonstration what happened here in the last few weeks. And this is only a wake-up call. We don't need to afraid. The Jewish people, we are not scared from long journey, and we are here, head and me, with our hearts, and anything that you need, anything where you, any activity that you need, we hear lectures, you rabbis, first of all, to say, thank you very much. You open your gates, you invite us, and we feel immediately comfortable with you, and to do great things together, and to bring Israel to South Africa in different ways. So thank you.
And yes, thank you. The one final question I want to ask, I hand over to Rabbi Hecht, is we were talking about it earlier, but you mentioned the war. Well, whatever we can call the operation of the 11 days in Israel. What was it like being outside of Israel and watching what's going on in Israel but not being there?
Honestly, it was very hard for us to be the first time in our life that in the war time, we are not there to support, but we are not sorry. We are very happy to hear. We're a little bit shocked how the presentation, the reality, nobody said the truth. Nobody said like, it was very difficult for us to see. And also one of the things that jumped to us, it's how to support to the young generation in the Jewish community. Because the רשתות חברתיות, social media, very active in bad news, and they attacked Israel in every different ways. And one of the questions that all the time we ask, the adults, in the end, they know to find the correct information. They know what to do. But with the young generation, it's very, very heavy. And it can very even danger for them. It's going to be, they can like, it's so heavy. Why I need this connection to the Zionism? Why I need to be Jewish? So we need to stand up and to support these young people, to give them the correct information, and not always to bring the conflict, bring them the experience of Israel in different way. This is why Head and me very busy in this day to work, to think really with the community. We want to meet more people to see how we can protect about this young generation, the next generation of the Jewish people. So yeah, this is the...
You have something to say on that? Oh, okay, you can take the microphone. We're coming to the end of the hour, and I know people there on that side. For us, it's alive and intimate, and it's been incredible to talk to you. Sometimes on the other side of the screen, an hour I think is enough. But certainly there's an indication that we'll have to continue the conversations. You gave indications of a lot of further conversation, whether it's the different projects you did through the studio, or some of the experiences, particular experiences that you had in Africa. I think it would be amazing to hear, some of the reality of going through the process for you of integration and how you've chosen to give it back. What's been exceptional for me is that you're both extraordinary individuals, and you don't seem to realize it. It just came to you somehow. It just came to you. So it's really such a zchut to meet you and to sit with you. There's no question that I think as you intimated that the going through such a difficult time personally for you, but opened you up also to the struggle of a community like ours, like you said, particularly the young people. And it's such a blessing for us to have you, Batya and Hecht, in the community as living examples of proud, strong, confident Israelis, Jews. And like you said, there's nothing to fear, and we have to be able to share the correct information. And they shouldn't feel, our children, our younger people in this community, that to have a relationship with Israel is something heavy. You have to know it's something that's to be proud of and something that they can feel confident about. Rabbi, why am I suggesting we take questions? We just have to realize how to do this. Okay, so I'm gonna, if anybody has any particular questions, you can, I'm not sure which camera I'm looking at. Yeah, okay. Okay, if you guys have any questions, please type it into the chat, and then I'm going to open up a device with the questions. We'll try to ask one or two questions from you guys to Batya and Hecht. And maybe, although this itself could be another whole session, but just to give a taste, those of us who are watching the political shifts in Israel at the moment, there's a lot of excitement. On the one hand, there's a lot of nervousness. On the other hand, a new government, a type of government that nobody ever has seen. Some think it's the worst thing that could have happened. Others think that's the best thing that could have happened. Maybe Hecht, just a word to that. What do you feel about the change? What are your hopes in the coming weeks or months? And I'm going to go look to see if there's any...
We are very optimistic, we must be, because this is the situation. I think there's many positive things with the new government can be. Many opportunities can appear. Who knows, because it has so many sides, ways inside of it, so many differences. Maybe it will teach us to do something to communicate inside of us that was lacking for some time, So it's a great challenge. Personally, I think Bennett really wants to serve Israel with all his heart. I really believe, when I follow him for a while, that he really, true Zionist who believe in Israel, that follow Israel, and he took himself a very, very serious risk, personally. What will happen from that? Only God knows. God is here, it's part of all of it, So
what party is he? It's the Mafliga,
He's in all of us, That's.
But I think, is it the first time there's an Ethiopian minister in the government or not?
No, she was before.
Was she before as well?
They are friends, if you want.
Very nice. That's amazing.
They're mafia, all the Ethiopians. They're in the mafia.
We'd have it no other way.
We need to doing the akarat hatov. I think Benjamin Netanyahu, he did incredible, amazing mission for Am Israel. And we need to stop and to thank to this amazing man. And it's never mind you are left and you are right. And first of all, to really, even in the Corona time, what Benjamin Netanyahu did, it's unbelievable. Personally, just post on Facebook to thank to this gentleman, hold the Akarat Atov. First of all, like, it's very, very important. And also to bless Bennett. I think this is the first time we had a prime minister with kippah. So, and it's very
Diverse.
diverse, and we have to be optimistic. We have to believe in good. And we are not so strong. We don't really, we go far away from political issue, but we have to see the half, the full of the glass, not the empty. So really, we wish to the Benjamin Netanyahu all the best, to thank again. God bless him, his family. What he did, it's unbelievable. What he did for the Corona time. It's not only to get the vaccine, it's to support of the family that they don't get job, and Israel back to life, you know? So all the best to him. And this is our test, the whole Am Israel. We need to stand together and to support each other and to hope for the beautiful.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. I like that. Yeah, I'm glad. I wasn't expecting to get into the deep politics of it. And I'm happy with the answer. Definitely. Okay, so there are not a lot of questions. Just one or two comments from Felicity. She says, Batya, you excelled yourself tonight. You're such a role model. Good luck for the future. And Jackie writes, you're both phenomenal leaders. Aubrey says, thank you for sharing your experience in such an inspirational way. Heroic Israelis.
Thank you very much.
You're a beautiful couple. You're inspirational. That's from Hadassah. Judy is asking a question. She says, how are your children enjoying their African experience?
You want to say?
It's 3 ages, you know, so each one pass it differently. 2 of our sons, they're teenagers, so they pass their own rhythm. But it's like, they like it, you know. You cannot know not to like this
Town.
place, to like Cape Town, and the place we live is very nice. We have a lot of Akarat Tov, you know, but moving to another country with children is challenging, you know, it's challenging. They have to adapt. And there's many perspectives, you know, there's even statistics, how it works and how much time it's going to take, you know. It takes a while, you know, there's the language, there's the cultures and the difference, and the missing, you know, the friends in Israel and everything. And Israel is summertime now, you know, and everybody starts their big vacation now in Israel.
Right.
And there's no masks and there's no COVID, you know.
Right.
So we're adjusting, you know, and they're adjusting, and we know we came for a shlichut, you know, and it's part of the journey.
Beautiful. And let's see. I think there was one or two other comments and maybe one other question from, well, Karen, who introduced you. So you know Karen. She says, so proud and grateful to have such a wonderful family doing their shlichut in Cape Town. We want to thank them for giving of themselves on behalf of the state of Israel. David says, Kol hakavod. And then Aubrey's just asking a question, maybe just a final thing, just to explain what exactly your roles are within Cape Town. He asked specifically, he says, are you based at the Jewish school? What exactly are your duties? So I know, Batya, you were designers Fred, head you in the school. So maybe just to speak for one moment and we'll wrap it up with that, about the particulars of your shlichut.
Herzliya decided a few years ago she need inside the school a shaliach that will be only involved about Israel programming. Okay, we can say Zionism, but today Israel is like more modern world. And so actually there was a guy before me, his name is Tzachi Cohen, he's a great guy, you know. And I came, it was quite a big gap after he left, and it was all the COVID. So I came now, the idea is to rise all the Israel and to find how the structure of Israel connected to the children, because Israel is a young country with great futures and great opportunities for these young kids, you know, to be involved, because after all, we are all connected to Israel in all ways, every way, you know. Of course, me, I grew up there and everything, but each one of the community have some connection to Israel, and Israel can give a lot of opportunity to them. And we are rising in the school awareness of the idea of Israel to be connected to the life in all aspects, you know. And the school finds that somebody comes from Israel without temperament and culture and ideas and new ideas that will come there. And we hope to establish many, many great things there. You know, we are working on it together with the school, and there's many great ideas because there's many challenges for the generation. You know, it's a new generation. It's actually the experiment of the social media. It's this generation. It's the new generation. Like 10, 12 years ago, who had social media kids? You know, maybe us started like this Facebook a little bit, you know, but the kids at this age, 10 years ago, they didn't have social media, you know, so everything is so connected to there, and the conversation started. And the most important that I learned that if I want to meet the community, so my best way is just to stand on the checkers in the kosher section and have some doubts about some product. And before 1 minute, I'm like in a conversation with 3-4 people, you know. So the best way, just standing in checker in the kosher section. You will know everybody after a while.
Beautiful.
My position is Aliyah and the community work in the federation. So again, I'm here, guys. Open your really any idea that you have. I would like to meet people here, to know, to hear you, and even we had in me and to thinking how to work together in the part of the education and to meet different school and high school here, the Jewish community. So yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So people who are interested in Aliyah should speak to you. I think we might have a whole bunch of new people after tonight. So you're already doing good work.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we got one final comment over here. This is from David Gordon, who's the president of the congregation. David says, this has been an exceptional session. I feel good things to come for the Jewish community of Cape Town. Thank you for arranging. Okay, so that's for organizing and bringing this dynamic couple to the community. And yes, just from myself, again, it's been beautiful to meet you. I really think you both are exceptional. And I think just by being yourselves, you're gonna do the best shlichut for Israel. I hope you'll keep telling your stories around, and I hope we'll have another opportunity to speak again. And please go out and not too soon in person. You know, before Corona, this room could be full with people, with food and being together. And we look forward to a time when we'll be able to do that together with you soon. And I'll just hand back to Rabbi Wineberg for a final word.
So first of all, I think while we've been talking here, the president decided to have his meeting as well, Ramaphosa, and I believe that the country is going into level 3. So obviously things are a bit shaky, and I just want to assure everybody out there that you're watching to know that we have been socially distant, and you are seeing us without masks, but they are a couple, so they can be together without. We're sitting apart sufficiently so that we can speak without masks. But obviously once we're finished here, we'll be putting them back on. So we take it very seriously. And obviously everybody should take it very seriously because the safety and security of ourselves and our community is the number one concern. So having said that, I just want to thank you, and thank you for being with us in the trenches, as they say, in this challenge. Because as you pointed out, in Israel, there's no masks. In Israel, they're going about life almost entirely normal. And yet you have chosen to remain and to stay and to be part with us. And we honor that. We thank you for what you're doing. We wish you a lot of atzlacha. Just to echo David's words earlier, there's great things to happen in Cape Town. And we look forward to continuing that with you. So, alu v'hatzlichu.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you in person when we can. I don't know what the new regulations say. I'm going to go get my mask.
Thank you very much.